In this video, we are going to learn about file-based authentication. Often you need to provide each user with a unique login pair in order to track user-specific login times, movements, and actions. So as we saw in the previous video that providing unique username and password to each and every employee would be a better option rather than specifying hard-coded values, right? Because if we provide unique login pair to each and every user, we can track their login times, movements, and actions. So we can check how many times the user has logged in, what are its movements, where it is redirecting, and what are its action and everything. And basically in an organization it becomes utmost importance to check what the user is doing. This is easily accomplished with a text file. Now we will see how we can authenticate a user with file-based authentication. Okay. Text file, much like the one commonly used to store about Unix users. So we will be using a text file in which we will store the username and password of each and every employee. And once the user enters username and password in the pop-up window, it will check with the file, and if that username and password matches with the one present in the file, then we will grant him the access or else we will deny it. Each line contains username and an encrypted password pair. Now see here it is most important. See inside the file we will write the username and encrypted password pair. But it is not necessary to write in its encrypted form. Obviously you are providing security, that is very good thing. But in this video, we are not going to encrypt the password pair. We will just store username and password in its original form. We are not going to encrypt it for now. With two elements separated by a colon. So basically it would look like, let's say if I keep the username as Kevin, so I will just say Kevin. I will just write Kev, and then we will write colon and then password. Let's keep the password as also Kevin. I'm just taking a random example. So this would how it would look like: username colon and password. So this is how we are going to save each and every login pair in our file. A crucial security consideration regarding the file is that this file should be stored outside the server document root. Okay, so if it is a better practice to store this file outside the server document. If not, an attacker could discover the file through brute force guessing, revealing half of the login combination. Okay, so if you don't save it outside the server document root, an attacker might discover the file through brute force guessing, and he can basically check out all the login combinations that are present inside the file. In addition, although you have the option to skip password encryption, this practice is strongly discouraged because users with access to the server might be able to view the login information if file permissions are not correctly configured. Okay, so it is a better practice to store the password in its encrypted form. Okay, but since we are just learning, so here it is okay if we are just saving the password in its original form. The PHP script required to pass this file, so it will pass this file and authenticate a user against a given login pair, is only a tad more complicated than the script used to authenticate against a hard-coded authentication pair. So hard-coded authentication was easy to implement, but this is more complicated than that, because here we will be storing the data in the file and then we will be passing that file in our PHP script. Okay. So this includes the use of several functions. Now see, these all are functions that can be used. Okay, it is not mandatory to use all the three in this in your program. The first function is a file function that we are going to use. Actually, this f should be in lowercase. Okay, It takes one parameter, that is the file name. The file function reads a file into an array. So we need this function since we are using a file. So we are storing username and password. So it will read a file into an array with each element of the array consisting of a line in the file. Explode. So this is another function that could be used. So it takes three parameters: a separator, string separator, a string, and a limit. The explode function splits a string into a series of substrings. So if you want to split a string into a series of substrings, you can make use of explode function with each string boundary determined by a specific separator. So you can just say using the separator, you can determine the boundary, means the length of each substring. Next, we have MD5. Now, MD5 is an encryption algorithm. Okay, so even this is optional. So in this case, in this video, we are just going to use the file function. The MD5 function calculates an MD5 hash of a string using RSA security. MD5 message digest algorithm. Now, the full form of MD5 is message digest algorithm. Because the passwords are stored using the same encrypted format, you first use the MD5 function to encrypt the provided password, comparing the result with what is stored locally. Okay, so MD5 is used to encrypt the string. Okay, so we won't be using that. Okay, so now let's directly jump onto the code. Okay, I will just show you the entire execution of how the access is granted and how authentication is implemented using file based authentication. Okay, so I am inside my IDE and now we will write the code. I'll just say PHP. Now, firstly, what I will do, I will create one variable authorized. Okay, I will just create a variable authorized and assign a value false to it. Why? I'm just saying that for now, no user is authenticated. Okay, so that's why authorization is false. Now, Now what we will do is, let's first create a text file. Okay. So what I will do is, I will first go to a location where my programming folder is stored. So we know where it is stored. So I will just go there. It is inside the C directory, inside the folder XAMPP, inside the folder htdocs, and here our folder programming is residing. So from here you can just check the path. For me it is inside the C directory because uh, I installed XAMPP at this location. And here I will just create a text file. Okay, and I will just store a username and password inside it. Okay, so I will just give a name, authenticate. Okay, now inside this file, let's open this. Now here I will store username. Let's keep username as Kevin and even password as Kevin. So this is how you store username and password inside a text file. First the username, then make use of colon, and then the password. Okay, now I will just save it and let's close this file. And now let's move to IDE. Okay, so here we will just check. I'll just say if is set dollar underscore server PHP auth user and is set dollar underscore server PHP auth password. So I'm just checking whether these two variables are set or not. Set means whether they are holding any value. Let's say if they are holding any value, that means the user has entered some value in that field, username and password. So now I will perform, I will just say dollar auth file is equal to file function, and here I will just say auth authenticate dot txt. So basically what I'm doing is, if these two variables are set, then only I will just execute this file function. Now what this file function does is, it will take line by line whatever username and password that we have stored inside this file. It will line by line fetch each and every one and store that inside this variable. So this variable is basically an array. Okay, it will store all the username and password that are present inside the file. So this is an array. And this file function, inside this we just have to specify the name of the file that we want to read. Okay, basically this function will read line by line all the username and password and store that inside this file. Inside this if condition, I will again create one more if condition. If in underscore array, this is another inbuilt function, so I will explain you what it is. Dollar underscore server php auth user, then outside the square brackets what I will do is, I will just put a dot, then a colon, then again a dot, dollar underscore server php underscore auth underscore password, and then comma dollar auth file. Okay, so what am I doing is, this is an inbuilt function, this is an inbuilt function in PHP in underscore array. Now if I hover this, I'm getting to see its description, what the function actually does. So it checks if a value exists in an array or not. So I'm just passing these two variables, username and password, so they are containing the values that the user has entered, and I'm just checking whether those values are present inside this array or not. This array means I just fetched all the details from this file and stored that inside them array. So indirectly I'm just saying that whether these two variables are present inside the file or not. If they are present, then we will grant them access, or else we won't. So inside this I will just say dollar authorized is equal to true. So that means we have granted access. Okay, if the username and password is matching with the username and password that is inside the file, we will just say authorized is equal to true. Okay, here we forgot to put a bracket. Okay, so now I will just come outside of these if conditions, and here I will just say again if not authorized. I'll just say not authorized means if the authorization is still, the value of this variable authorized is still false, that means the values that user has entered does not match with the values that are present inside the file. So that means it is not authenticated. So what I will do is I will again pop that window for him. So I'll just say www authenticate basic realm is equal to authentication. And one more time header function, and here I will just say http slash 1.1 401 unauthorized. Okay, simply like this, and I will just click a semicolon. Now I will just say, and even we will put exit here, exit. Okay, and now I will just say here echo access granted. Okay, so that means what will happen is as soon as it is authorized, it will come and execute this statement. But if it is not authorized, then it will just give out this pop-up. I will just show this pop-up and I will exit. So this statement won't be executed. So it will keep showing this pop-up till the user is authorized. Okay, so this is the code. Now what we will do is, let's execute this code. So I'll just go to my browser and I will just say here localhost slash programming slash name of my file is first.php. Okay, so it has given us the pop-up. I will just say Kevin and Kevin. Okay, and as soon as I sign in, it will say access granted. Yeah, so as you all can see, access granted. So in this way, you can just implement file-based authentication. So you can store all as many username and password inside the file as you want, and all that will be stored inside this array $auth file. And then we are just comparing, means we are just checking whether these two variables, means the two values username and password is present inside this array or not, using this in underscore array function. In array means it is just checking whether that values is inside that array or not. Okay, so this is how you can implement file-based authentication in PHP. And of course, it is not that much efficient. Means, let's say if we are working with dynamic data. Dynamic data means the data which changes each and every time. Okay, so let's say if I want to keep adding new users, I want to delete users, modify users. So file-based approach is not an efficient approach. So in that case, database based authentication is much more efficient than file based authentication. So in the next video, we will learn about database based authentication. Thank you.